Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast, the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions, the worlds of TV, film, news, music, pop culture, everything really depending on the guest. We talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. My guest is an actor and a musician, does a lot of things, wears many hats. I'm really excited to chat with him. Thomas Ian Nicholas is with us. Thomas, welcome to Popternative, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
I'm excited. I mean, for people that have followed your career, the acting bug hit you pretty young. Was it the same with music as well?
Yeah, I mean, I started playing music. I started acting when I was like 6, and I started playing music when I was about 14. Mm-hmm. So, I would say at this point, now that I'm an old man at the ripe old age of 40, yeah, I've been doing both for my whole life.
It's interesting because, when the music comes into the equation, you're no longer just kind of like an actor and like doing the theater and the acting and the TV shows and the movies. You're doing like the storytelling thing, right? Because storytelling is everything you do. You're a storyteller, basically.
I mean, I do love the format of writing a song, and it's even from the technical aspect. Now that I produce films, it's a lot easier to just use one medium, meaning like just the medium of, sound. Yeah. I could definitely write, record, and finish and release a song way faster than I can do that with a film.
Absolutely. And, speaking of films, we're talking about Adverse. Adverse is a film that came out last week. I mean, did you know at one point that you were going to start wearing many hats when you were working on movies like Adverse, Thomas?
My first time getting into producing I was like in my early 20s, and I worked with my brother, and that's actually how I met Brian A. Metcalf. He did a couple of like small favors on the film, helped me with my storyboards, and did some visual effects because he has a visual effects background. So from there, the only reason I continued on with it was to work with Brian again. We did a film that we sold to Lionsgate back in 2009, and then we kind of just kept going at it. So this is like, I don't know, our third or fourth film that we've done now together. And the thing that's cool about it is I get to do what I want versus just what is in front of me. Yeah. Like, meaning it's kind of like being the chef versus picking from the menu.
That's a good way of looking at it. And this is a film that, and I feel like, I don't know if you think this is a trend, but I'm enjoying it. There's a lot going on in this film, and this film is not like one genre of film. This film has a lot of stuff happening in one film. Is it safe to say that that's where kind of the industry and the storytelling aspect is going, where you're kind of blending different genres, Thomas?
Yes and no. I mean, I think that there are certain people that are influenced by a lot of different genres. I mean, I would equate some of what Brian is doing with Adverse to like what you see in Bong Joon-ho's films, where it's crossing over. And even recently, we got a review in Variety by Joe Layden, who he talked about it being like a 90s capsule, and the film was very meta. And I have a new sort of phrase for Brian and his style. We were calling it a neo-noir film, but now that I've seen this review, which is very positive in Variety, I'm thinking 90s noir.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, this film has a great cast. This film has a great look. Even when the trailer came out, you kind of have that like, whoa, like this is going down, right? Do you find like the art of creating trailers is kind of something people don't realize too? Because, you have this film that you made, you're excited to put it out there. You want to give someone a sample, but it's like a balance of what do you put in this sample platter that's going to make them want more? Like, I always thought about that because that's a trailer that really gets you like, okay, like you sold me. I want to watch this film now, right? The trailer art is interesting.
Yeah, that's sort of the benefit of my business partners. So on the one hand, I have Brian A. Metcalf, and on the other I have Kelly Argent. So those are my two business partners with Black Jelly Bean Productions. So Brian, as I mentioned before, when we met, he has a history in visual effects. So he used to actually cut trailers for studio projects. And so every time we do a project, he usually drops a version of a trailer that gets like 1 million views on YouTube.
It's like an art, eh? He perfected the art of trailers.
Yeah, he knows how to cut a good trailer. Like I said, for Lost Tree, Living Among Us, that we had out a couple years ago with Sony, and Adverse. I think Adverse like fell a little bit short, but they're all around that like 1 million view mark on YouTube, basically because of Brian's prowess.
Oh, for sure. Now, I do have to mention, Thomas, because if I were to name my top 20 favorite movies of all time, you have been in 2 of those movies, okay? Rookie of the Year and The American Pies, okay? Especially American Pie 2. That one is just unbelievable. And it's interesting because, the people that follow you, you didn't really stop. You've been continuing to do your music and your movies and everything. But there were some questions I did have to ask. I mean, when you're making Rookie of the Year, the Chicago Cubs and everything, just like, it's hard because I don't even know what to ask you because there's so many things in that movie that are just like hilarious and amazing. But you don't know that you're going to make a popular cult classic when you're just a kid on set, right?
The only thing that I was excited about when I got the job was, it was Fox Studios.
Yes.
Same way like when I got, American Pie, it was Universal Pictures.
Yes.
So there's a big win as an actor, and especially as a kid, these studios, they present themselves. Even think of like their big intros, right before you watch a film when you're sitting in a theater and it's like, the big intro logo is like larger than life.
Yeah.
So when you get a film that's with a major studio, like it's not even so much like, this is going to be a film that's a cult classic or a hit film or $100 million box office. It's just, oh man, it's kind of like like Steve Martin in Bowfinger. We got a gold picture. That's how you feel when you get a job with a studio. Like that's how we feel working with Lionsgate with Adverse.
Yeah.
Is like, hey, we're not just making something that we think is cool. We're making something that a studio is putting a stamp of approval on.
Lionsgate wants to do this. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's the thing is it's again, and look, Lionsgate, Universal, Disney, they make a lot of films and not all of them are in your top 20, but they don't, there's thousands of other films that are made that don't ever get a major studio. So we're somehow in like in their top 20 for the year because they probably make like 20 films a year.
No, absolutely. No, it's just Rookie of the Year. Like that movie will never not be quoted. Like there's so many things. Like when you're at bat for the first time, I think me and my sister quote the oh my god, like all the time. You know what I mean?
Should I? Well, so I work with a buddy of mine, this guy named Joe. He runs a company called Avia Shirts.
Yeah.
So it sounds like that might be one of the quotes we should put on there. Then
you
would buy that shirt.
I would because that whole sequence is amazing because they cut to your mom and they cut to Chet Stedman. That whole thing is an underrated part of the movie.
I'm texting Joe right now and I'm gonna say, hey, listen. We need to make an oh my god.
You also need to make a shirt with all of Sal's mispronunciations of your name, like on one shirt.
Already done. It's
really?
Already on the website. Yeah.
But like in like a line, like all of them, like Gardenhoser, Runnemucker, Ravenboozer, like literally like.
Yes. I will. If you here, I'll tell you what. I'll show you a picture of it right now.
So good.
It's like I said. It's already done.
But I need that.
So there is a special little site on Joe's website for Avia Shirts with me, and it has like all like some of my quotes. So it has there's a To the Next Step shirt.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a picture's got a big.
And there's now
gonna
be an oh my god shirt.
It's coming. It's coming.
American Pie, specifically American Pie 2. This is an interesting question I've always wanted to kind of ask you, because I'm really happy we're able to do this finally, because this is something I've always wanted to ask you because you're also a musician. One thing about American Pie and the movies, you're gonna agree with me, is these soundtracks just like made me discover some of my favorite bands of all time. It's like it's almost like a pop punk band is now like called like American Pie rock. Like it's a thing, right? Like which is really, I mean, I'm talking about Phoenix TX, Newfound Glory, Sum 41, American Hi-Fi, Blink 182, right? Those are some of my favorite bands, and the movies really highlight that. Can you talk a little bit about like when you're kind of making those films and then watching them later? I mean, those soundtracks are like Americana, so to speak. They're a huge of the Offspring. They're a huge part of like our everyday lives because your movies just helped us discover those bands. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I didn't necessarily know it when we were doing the first film because obviously, they don't talk about the soundtrack when they're, making the film. But I remember Universal, one of the studio execs dropped off Dude Ranch in all of our trailers, the Blink 182 album.
So cool. And
there was a little note from her. May she rest in peace, actually. It's Ali Brecker, who was like one of the people that greenlit the film. So I wouldn't even be here today if it wasn't for Ali. So she wrote a little note. This is the new Green Day. This band's going to be huge. And at this point, like no one had really heard of Blink 182. And so then, but I wanted to meet them because I was also already a musician at that point, and I had like pitched a song to be in the soundtrack. The producers kind of said yes, but it didn't end up working out on the first one. But I remember I wasn't working, but I specifically went to set the day they were shooting that scene with Blink 182 so I could meet the guys because I wanted to like meet these dudes that were going to be the next Green Day.
Did they play a concert for you guys at all or any of that?
They shot a music video. Like they had the camera set up for that shot. It was like, remember the kid with the monkey, and they're watching the internet sequence with Nadia. So like, Mark's there and Travis. And so they got the band set up because they were doing like, band rehearsal. So the camera's on a dolly track and then they like shot a one shot music video, just like tracking back and forth. And I was there secretly, may or may not have been drinking Jägermeister on the prop truck, but that's another story.
In American Pie 2, I mean, the whole thing, that big party on the lake and everything. I mean, is that like, does it blow your mind that that's kind of like always the thing that people like? American Pie has a lot of amazing moments, but that is like one of the most iconic things, right? That whole party you guys do. I mean, that was like the dream for a lot of people, right? Going to the cottage, like you guys set up the perfect kind of home run. Isn't that amazing as well?
Yeah, I mean, Adam Hers was always writing the film based upon, his own experiences, and he did that. He painted houses with his buddies with not Oz, but Zai, not Finch, but French. And there's, and all these characters that, these people that he based these characters off of. I mean, it's similar to, how Brian A. Metcalf was inspired to write Adverse off of like a girlfriend that he was dating that kind of got wound up in like drugs and stuff. Yeah. And that's kind of the inspiration for my character, Ethan, and his sister, only he made it his sister getting like wrapped up in drugs and him having to help her out. So writers often will
write about
take
like
their own experiences and then, make it larger than life.
I didn't think about American Pie being kind of like not necessarily based on true events, but kind of have some like outline of past experiences. That's really cool to hear because I didn't think about that. You know what I mean? I just thought of like there's so many movies of that kind of like house party era, right? Of like the American Pies, Can't Hardly Wait is another one, which is one of my favorite. And it's just one of those things where they become timeless. What do you think about when I say that movies like that Thomas Ian Nicholas have been in are timeless movies, Thomas?
I mean, I guess I don't really think about it in terms of like patting myself on the back. Because obviously I'm a singular part of a whole when it comes to, all the moving parts of a film. I think I'm grateful because if it means that I get to do what I love, which is acting and music, then I'm very grateful that these films are living on because then it means I get to keep doing what I love. I don't have to, get a haircut and get a real job.
It's very true. Yeah.
Although I do need a haircut.
It's interesting. So with Adverse that's out right now, I mean, the obvious answer to this question is you hope people like enjoy it, right? Because that's like the whole point, right? You put out a movie, you want people to like it. But what specifically do you all like? Does the Adverse kind of camp and team hope people get when they watch this film? If we dive more deep into it.
For me, it's a turning point in my career. And I've had this in mind for a long time, but this is the film that I plan on making the actual pivot. And that is so to speak, that I've been known as a comedic actor because of things like American Pie and Rookie of the Year, but drama is really my forte.
Yeah.
And Adverse, I think, is that moment that I've been spending a career pretending I'm left-handed, and now I'm switching up my stance and I'm going, actually, I'm right-handed. And so Adverse is that dramatic moment. And the film is being well received. It came out in theaters on February 12th. And it's a platform release into select theaters. So it's only guaranteed for 1 week unless it does well. And it did well enough that the majority of the theaters ordered it for a second week. And while I'm talking to you, I just got an email that certain theaters are holding it for a third week. So that's really good. I mean, that's what you want.
It just must make you all just kind of like that's when those are moments, those emails that come in are just moments that show that you guys did something right.
Yeah, I mean, we do this crazy entertainment to provide an escape for people, especially, considering the current events that we're going through right now. And we want people to enjoy it. We're not just, making a product. This isn't like a pet rock.
No.
We're not just making a product to sell and make money. We're making something that we're proud of, that provides entertainment, that people enjoy. So,
but it's true.
That's
like
the whole
films like Rookie of the Year, American Pie, another one we did mention. Another one that I think people like, I don't forget it, but like Kid in King Arthur's Court, kind of like people forget about that one too. Like that was a great one too. It's like, yeah, like those movies provided escape and provided an opportunity for when kind of times were tough, you can kind of just plug out and just kind of watch them and everything. And American Pie are those movies for me. I mean, it's insane too. Like, and I really enjoyed when American Reunion came out too. And it was just, that was really awesome as well. But Thomas, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on Popternative, man. I really enjoyed chatting with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And if you're curious about Adverse the film, you can go to adversethefilm.com. There's, see which locations are holding it for a third week, or catch it on streaming from Lionsgate on March 9th.
And where can people follow you on social media? And I do want you to tell people where they can find your music as well, because you are a really awesome musician as well. So I want you to plug that as well, man.
Thank you. Yeah. TIN Band is my acronym online, TIN Band. That's for Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever. And then I've got links to my music there. We just had a single that came out January 26th called Home Life. And on March 9th as well, Luminary is my new single that's dropping the same day that Adverse hit streaming. I didn't really plan that. It just kind of happened.
That song that song for the American Reunion soundtrack, My Generation, that was a banger. I like that song.
Thanks, man.
That's a good
song.
We
got all our stuff's on Spotify, and I'm actually doing a Patreon right now. So Patreon / .com/TIN Band. Working on album 7. I do a weekly concert on Sunday called Sunday Fun Day. So lots of opportunities to escape in entertainment with me.
Amazing. Well, seriously, man, thank you so much for doing this. And again, man, I'm telling you, like 2 in the top 20. That's a pretty cool accomplishment. You're in 2 movies in PD Beats' top 20 of all time. That's a big thing. I'm a big movie guy, so I'm just saying.
Right on, man. Thank you.
Well, this has been Popternative. YouTube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Be sure to check out Adverse, which stars Thomas Ian Nicholas, and he produced it as well. And until next time, this is Thomas Ian Nicholas and PD Beats signing out.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.